You can't have every whiskey, so here's 5 reasons to pass on a bottle. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So recently I've been reflecting on some of the bottles that I've passed on in 2024. Whiskeys that I saw on shelves or had the opportunity to potentially get and ultimately said no to. That is something I don't do super often. I do have the channel, I have a relatively big collection, and I really enjoy adding to it and reviewing stuff for you guys. So what are the reasons, what are the justifications or explanations for why I would look at a bottle and say, no, not right now, or no, that isn't for me? I kind of wanted to break that down and talk about the 5 main reasons I've done that, especially this year. And for each, I'll talk about a specific bottle that I saw or had the opportunity to get, but then said no to. So hopefully it'll be informative, start a discussion as well around why we get certain whiskeys or elect not to get other ones. So as we go, feel free to comment down below and let me know and let everybody else know. What are your reasons, or where do you draw the line on not getting a whiskey? We talk a lot about why you should hunt or what you should be hunting. I feel like this is part of the conversation too. Like, why would you say no to getting a whiskey? All right, so let's get into the 5 reasons. Number 1 for me, secondary pricing. So you'll walk into a liquor store and you'll see bottles that you haven't seen pretty much anywhere else. You get excited for a moment, but they're behind the counter and you know, if I ask about the price, it's probably going to be absurd. That's happened for me many times. I went into a store recently, saw Russell's Reserve 13 behind the counter. They also had some crazy other stuff. And I asked about it just because that's a bucket list bottle for me. And it was $400. I'm just not paying $400 for that whiskey, or pretty much any whiskey really. So I had to kind of walk away from it. That's not one I've seen a ton just sitting on a shelf waiting to be purchased. And ultimately at that price, which is probably even above secondary in a lot of cases, or right at secondary, I just can't do it. So one reason, probably the main reason we all pass up a whiskey, is just the pricing from the store is higher than you'd even see online on secondary markets, and that's kind of disappointing. Similar but related is reason number 2. That is premium pricing. So this is different in that while it's still a pricing issue, the issue isn't from a store marking it up. It's just the assigned MSRP on a whiskey is too high for what you're willing to pay, especially if you're not sure about the quality of the whiskey. So for me, the bottle that comes to mind is Heaven Hill's Heritage 18-year release this year. I had the opportunity to go down to Heaven Hill and get that bottle when it was released at the distillery. Probably could have gotten one since they released a lot, but it was $340 out the door, and from the reviews I had seen already, it was very mixed. Very much like, well, the 17-year release was amazing, the 18-year release is pretty good, but we don't know if it's worth the money, or I'm not sure it justifies all the hoopla. So for me, I took a look at that and I decided, you know what? I don't think I want to spend that much money on a bottle that I can't guarantee I will love and cherish, especially given that that's just the straight up price you got to pay out the door at Heaven Hill. And so for me, that's another reason. If the premiumization of the market is driving prices way up on certain bottles that you aren't sure about the quality, it's totally okay to say no. And I've said no many times. There's other bottles like Wild Turkey, Master's Keep, Triumph is apparently a very good rye, but it's only a 10-year-old rye and it's close to $300. So again, as we see that market kind of get crazier and crazier, the more we're probably going to have to say no, or the more I'm going to be saying no to certain premium bottles unless I hear that they are, top 5 whiskey of the year. Okay, reason number 3, again, sort of related, a similar thread, that is unknown quality. So I came across a bottle, 13th Colony Cask Strength, very early on when this bottle was released. I think it was like $100 at the store that I was looking at it. And I just hadn't really seen many reviews out yet. Didn't know what the quality was. I know 13th Colony Double Oaked gets great reviews. I know there's also been some controversy around that, but this Cask Strength, I'm sure it's very, very good, but it's also $100. And not knowing the quality of it, I just had to pass. I had to say, right now, I can't justify spending $100 on a bottle if I don't know or can't guarantee that there's going to be some good quality there. I would have to hear from a friend or trusted sources online or other YouTubers that I really think have a similar palate to me that they thought it was great. And I just hadn't had that information yet, so had to pass. All right, reason number 4, I'm sure you've experienced this, is previous lackluster experience. And that might be from a series of whiskey or a certain release, but just knowing that you've had a disappointing experience in the past can sometimes color whether or not you're going to say yes or no to a new bottle. For me, unfortunately, the bottle that comes to mind is Redwood Empire Emerald Giant Cask Strength. So I have the Lost Monarch Cask Strength from last year. Tons of people have said that that bottle is very disappointing and that the other ones in the series, especially the Pipe Dream, I've heard great things about, are awesome. I don't really particularly love the regular Emerald Giant. I do love the Lost Monarch, so it was really disappointing that I didn't like the Cask Strength. I'm sure the Emerald Giant Cask Strength is very good, but it, again, for around $90 to $100, I couldn't justify it without feeling like I had had a great experience before. Now, if it was the Pipe Dream, and I had heard a lot of people talking it up and saying this is amazing, which I have now heard, I probably would have been a little bit more eager to grab it. But since it was one that already I'm not sure about, I had to say, hey, not for that price, not today. All right, my last reason is probably the most relatable, hopefully at least, and one that just kind of pops up constantly for me, and that is just budget limitations. The truth is, whiskey is freaking expensive right now, and everything in the world feels pretty freaking expensive, and it's just a big hit on the wallet that you have to be able to justify to your spouse. I'm engaged, so to future fiance, to planning the future and whether or not this bottle of whiskey is worth it over, investing in a house someday or whatever it is. For me, budget limitations come up. The bottle that comes to mind is Shanks 2024. So I saw this paired with Bomburgers. I could have gotten both of them. Decided to just get the Bomburgers and not the Shanks. I already have a Shanks from last year. And it's just one of those choices where you're like, budget-wise, can I walk out of this store today spending close to $300? Or can I just get one really nice new bottle and see how it goes? For me, that's nice because I do have the channel and I can justify it by doing a review and things like that. But the sheer fact that I had to think about budget is certainly a constant consideration for me, and I'm sure it is for you all as well. So I would say never feel bad about saying no to a whiskey because of a budget reason. And it's probably smart to think about it at that level, at least as things continue to get pretty crazy expensive here. Okay, so that's my list, everybody. That's 5 reasons, from secondary pricing to premium pricing to not knowing the quality to having a bad experience in the past and to just the sheer reality of budget limitations and how expensive whiskey is these days. Those are all reasons that I've passed on a bottle, and then a specific bottle that I passed on this year because of those reasons. Again, would love to hear in the comments below, what are the main reasons why you are saying no to whiskeys or deciding to pass and maybe saving up for something different or allocating your money for specific bottles that you want to say yes to. Would love to start a conversation about that. While you're at it, hit the like button on this video. That's what gets it out to the most people. And then if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel for the rest of 2024 and beyond. Till I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey. Don't be afraid to say no if you have a good reason, and cheers.